Hello, welcome to Serverfluent. In this quick video, I'm going to show you how you can easily provision your servers and deploy laravel applications using Serverfluent. Let's go ahead and click on Create Your First Server. I'm going to choose DigitalOcean as my server provider. If you click on DigitalOcean API keys, you will see that we have none of them currently added to our account. So let's go ahead and go to settings and add a new DigitalOcean API token. If you click on create new DigitalOcean API token, a pop-up will appear where we can enter our DigitalOcean API token details. I'm going to give my API token a test token name, and then I'm going to paste the API token value that I got from DigitalOcean dashboard. Let's save our token and let's go back to the servers page. Back to the servers page, let's go and click on DigitalOcean server creation, and you will see that the token is already in place. We can use it to create a new server. Let's give our server a name. I'm going to name it server 1. Then I'm going to choose a region that is nearest to my physical location, just to make things faster. For the OS, I'm going to go with Ubuntu 22. And for the server size, I'm going to choose 1 gig of RAM, 1 vCPU, and 25 gigs of SSD option. Now let's go and create our server. On provisioning page, sudo password for Serverfluent user will be displayed. Make sure you store the password in a safe place because Serverfluent does not store the sudo password. And in case you need to reset it, you will have to do this through your server provider dashboard. Now we can review what software we want to install on our server, what kind of PHP version, databases, etc. I'm going also to use a post-provisioning script to install Golang. I have already set up this post-provisioning script in my post-provisioning settings page. After you start the provisioning, Serverfluent will wait until your server is actually created on your server provider. This can take a minute or two, and this time varies between server providers. Once your server is created, Serverfluent will perform the provisioning of it. Software required to deploy your applications will be installed and configured. Of course, depending on various factors such as server performance or network latency, this process can take up to 10 or 15 minutes to complete. Once our server is provisioned, we can start creating and deploying applications on it. Let's go ahead and go to Applications page and click on New Application button. Let's give our application a name. I will go for Admin Dashboard Test. For application domain, I will enter admin-demo.serverfluent.com. Make sure you set up your DNS records of the application domain to point to your server's public IP address, as this will later be used when creating a free SSL certificate. Next step is to connect your GitHub account to load the repositories list. I'm going to do this in the background, and here we will see that our Git repositories are loaded. So select the one that you want to use for your application. Let's choose deployment branch as main. For application type, I'll go with Laravel. And for advanced features, I will leave them for now. But in case your deployment path is different than the root of repository, you might want to enter it here. Now let's go ahead and create and deploy new application. While the application is deploying, we can go back to our server and go to MySQL management. Here we can manage MySQL users and databases. I will create a new user called admin_user and will assign it to the database named DB. And I'll use this user for my freshly deployed application. Let's also make sure to create the database that we used for user and copy the password of created user. If we go back to our application management page, under the environment page, we can change the contents of env file. Let's change the values of database credentials, and let's use the password that we just copied for admin user, and also set the database to the one that we created, so DB. If we click to update the env, the environment values will be updated, and the next deployment will use these updated environment values. If we go to deployment script page, we can update the application deployment script, which is executed after each deployment. I will go ahead and update the script to see the database when running artisan migrate command. And I will also want to include npm install and npm run build to build my CSS and JavaScript assets on each deployment. Click update the deployment script, and let's go back to our application overview and redeploy the latest commit in order to use our deployment script. If we take a look at initial deployment overview, we will see the time it took to deploy the application. In this case, it's 13 seconds. And if we scroll down, we will also see the deployment log and deployment script output. You will see that the deployment script failed to run the migrations because the initial deployment didn't have the correct database credentials in the environment file. However, since we updated the environment and created new user for database, the new deployment should go through correctly. And as you can see, it indeed did that. Now, since our application is deployed, let's try to visit our application via URL. I have currently set up my domain to use Cloudflare with strict security policy. And as you can see, if we visit the domain, it will show that there is an error on my server side. This is because Cloudflare attempts to establish a secure connection to my application server. However, I have set up no SSL certificate yet. So if we visit the IP address of the server, you will see that the application is loading without any errors and we can actually use it. This is because we're accessing the application directly via IP address and HTTP instead of HTTPS. I will go ahead and create a fake user so I can authenticate to my dashboard. As you can see, the application is a simple Laravel app with some products information, which are filled in database seeders. Since it's not really ideal to access your application through your server's IP address, I'm going to set up a SSL certificate on the application. You can do that by going to certificates and click create new certificate. Make sure you select the correct domain that you want to issue certificate to and choose a certificate authority. Also, don't forget to set up the DNS records so that your server's IP address is pointing to your application's subdomain or domain. Then we issue a certificate. Serverfluent will automatically handle setting up the Nginx server and issuing certificates via free certificate authorities. Once certificate is created, you will be able to access your application via the domain or subdomain via HTTPS. I'm gonna go ahead and log in to my application one more time. And let's say I want to do some changes and change the headings of this products table, maybe change the font size or the strings. And I'm gonna just do that and see how Serverfluent can easily deploy your changes. Let's say I'll change the titles to product name and full description, and maybe add a bigger text size, maybe text LG. I'm using Tailwind here. And also maybe change a color. Let's maybe say to emerald maybe. And I'm gonna choose a darker tone. Once I'm happy with the changes, I can simply commit the changes and push them to repository, and Serverfluent will automatically pick up your pushed commits and deploy them on your server. This all happens with GitHub webhooks. So an event is sent to Serverfluent, and as you can see, the deployment already started. It's gonna take a couple seconds to deploy. We can see the logs and entire deployment information. And let's go back to the application and refresh. I will be logged out because the cache was cleared in my deployment script. So I'll just log in one more time. And as you can see, the changes were deployed. We have the changes that we added. And yep, this is Serverfluent. You can use Serverfluent to provision your servers and deploy applications and do much more operational stuff, such as managing your application queues, supervisor configs, etc. Go to serverfluent.com to explore more. The product is growing rapidly, new features are added often, and I hope you like using Serverfluent to manage your applications. Thank you for watching.